On this episode of Locked On Angels, it's feast or famine with this team. It's either everyone hits or nobody hits. And last night, nobody hit except for Zach Neto, and the Halos lose their third straight game. So we're going to share what happened both offensively and on the mound and hope for a rebound tonight. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're glad you're here, and thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the First Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, we've been longtime fans of this team our whole lives, for better or worse, I guess you could say. Fourth season here as the host of Locked On Angels. We're here every weekday, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking Angels baseball with you. Mike, the pledge is gone. I was really hoping that would be something. I thought that would be the key to the good vibes, but that did not take place.
As soon as they lost, I chucked it at the TV. No, I didn't.
I'm wearing my the winning hat that I wore last week, so hopefully we can get back to that. Hey, on today's show, we're going to get Perry's thoughts on the 8-game win streak. It's his fault it ended because he had to go talking about it.
Right.
We'll recap last night's game against the Yanks, but before we get to that, there were a lot of moves made yesterday, Michael, including the arrival of Chris Taylor, longtime Dodger whose tenure came to an end last week as they DFA'd him and brought up Dalton Rushing, their catching prospect. He signed with the Angels for a 1-year $760,000. Did I say that right? Good grief. $760,000 contract. But because of the time that's already taken place, it's prorated. So it comes out to $518,925. So it's basically the major league minimum. And he's playing for us basically on the Dodgers dime. He had a 580 OPS and a 31.7% strikeout rate in 281 plate appearances since the beginning of the 2024 season. Big utility guy. He can play everywhere. Obviously, we've seen him in one game so far playing in center field, and he's more than likely going to spend most of his time there. He's had 35 at-bats with a 200 average, a 200 on base, and a 457 OPS so far. Lot of Dodger fans I saw on social media saying, you know what, I'm glad he's able to stay in Southern California for one. And two, it seemed like the consensus was if he's going to the Angels, he's going to get tons of at-bats, and it just seems like that might be the way that he gets himself going again and can be useful to this team. And on that note about center fielders, they've Angels center fielders all season long have combined for a 606 OPS and have struck out 34.5% of the time. Taylor is an all-star. He's played for the Mariners and for the Dodgers over the last 10 years, and he's played in over 200 games each at the following positions: second base, shortstop, left field, and center field. He's also played third base and right field in his career. The roster spot was open when Sean Anderson was DFA'd. Chris Taylor had some things to say, didn't he, Mike?
Yeah, he said, I would like to prove myself with the Angels. I haven't performed to the level that I know I'm capable of performing the last couple of years. Kind of want to turn that around. He said, hopefully I can just come in consistently and work hard and help this team win. Johnny has a career 250 batting average with a 749 OPS. Wash was asked, hey, why are you signing this guy? Why bring this guy in? And he said he brings experience, and that's something that we need. We need somebody who's been through the wars, and he's a good piece for these young players to talk to about how to handle the grind. He's been in the grind over with the Dodgers every day. They're winning, and we want that. We've seen him play, and we're going to give him an opportunity to see what he can do and see what he's got left. And Wash just reiterated where he'll play. He said he's going to play mostly in the outfield, and he'll play some infield and bounce around and be somebody that can help fill in some spots. Johnny, what are your thoughts on Chris Taylor signing with the Halos?
I don't mind this move, and because of what it means for somebody like Kyren Paris, who we'll get to in just a second, I don't mind this move because I think it's another example of these guys bringing in somebody with veteran experience to make the young guys better down the road and maybe even this season, to have that wisdom, to have that longtime veteran who's been around for quite some time, I think is a good thing for them. I wasn't happy with the way he played that Volpe double off the wall last night. He got a little bit turned around out there, just didn't seem quite as athletic as like a Kyren Paris or even a Joe Adell or Matthew Lugo would have been in center field for that moment. Having said that, he wasn't great at the plate either. And so that was frustrating to see. And so maybe it's going to take some time for him to, get going and be productive. But Mike, we've got Kevin Newman on this team. We've given a chance to Tim Anderson. So it's just yet another guy that we're giving a chance to. I would have rather have seen Anderson in this game, by the way, over Kevin Newman, who botched a play at second base late in the game. But all that to say, I don't mind it. And, this is not the it's not the world-beating move that you would want or expect or anything like that. I think it's just it's a supplemental move to get more veteran experience around this team. What do you say?
I like veteran experience, but I also want performance on the field, and that's been the problem.
Experience on this team right now, that's the way it feels sometimes.
Right. It does feel like they've got a lot of good guys that are going to be able to coach these guys up. John, this feels like a move that should have happened last year. If last year was going to be the year that they're going to give these guys opportunities, the young guys opportunities to get at bats and things like that, then I don't understand why they didn't just fill the roster with a lot of good veteran guys last year like they are this year. Now, I get that the window is probably more 2026, 2027, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
And that is really what we're looking forward to. But this team has an opportunity to kind of creep in and maybe be competitive for that third wild card spot, or at least, 500. And when you bring in veterans like this, I get the experience, I get the wisdom, I get the, hey, at bat, you need to do this. I get all of that. I would just also like somebody that can show up and perform. It's funny to me, John, playing the Yankees last night. I look at somebody like Paul Goldschmidt, and everybody was like, man, that guy's on the tail end of his career.
Yeah.
And then he comes and he plays for the Yanks, and then what happens? It blossoms again.
Right.
And it seems like anybody that goes to the Yankees, their career blossoms for at least one season. A part of that's probably the stadium, right? Because it's easy to hit in that stadium, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's the frustrating part with this signing. I get all that he brings. I would also just like somebody that can actually give us some oomph in this lineup. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what's funny is, as I was explaining, the reasoning behind it, I was tired of hearing myself talk about, well, it's a veteran presence. He's going to help the young guy. Like, that's how many times are we doing this? Right. And to your point about last year and, why not surround them with veterans last year? I don't think they knew that they had to surround these young guys with veterans.
That's true. Yeah.
I think they went in to the season going, let's let these kids play. And that's essentially what happened. And then over the offseason, they went, you know what, we got to surround these guys with veteran talent, whether it helps or not. And then Kenley Jansen's a great example of somebody who's performing and also being a veteran. I loved watching him and Ryan Zefferjon in the dugout, talking over pitches and things like that. I'm bummed because Ben Joyce isn't there to talk over pitches with Kenley Jansen, because I want him to teach Joyce that cutter. So that would truly make Joyce elite. Yeah.
It made me chuckle when you said that maybe they just didn't know they needed to surround these guys last year. That's so Angels, right? Like, hey, man, we're going to let these young guys figure it out, and we're just going to let them run. And Ron Washington's going to be the only guy that's speaking into them, right? And so it just feels like this could have been a great move for last year. Speaking of Kenley, he's glad that Chris Taylor is back. He said hopefully he can get some time and showcase who he is. Now, in a corresponding move, the Halos, after Sunday's game, they optioned Kyren Paris to AAA Salt Lake. Many asked why Kyren Paris and not Joe Adell. 2 reasons. Kyren Paris has an option year, so he can be moved up and down. Joe Adell does not, and Adell has been slightly better in May than Kyren Paris has. Here's their numbers since May 1st. Kyren Paris, 151 batting average with a 224 on base, a 245 slugging, a 469 OPS with a homer in 53 at-bats and 58 plate appearances. Joe Adell, so much better, John. 173, 271 on base, 423 slugging, and a 649 OPS, 4 homers in 52 at-bats. And Wash said, Kyren just needs to play. He's young. Yeah. He needs to get some at-bats. He needs to learn how to make the adjustments that he has to make at the major league level. We were very impressed with the way he handled himself even when things were not going the way he wanted them to go. And when he came to the ballpark, he showed tremendous work ethic. And Paris is going to play exclusively in center field, according to Ron Washington. So feels like a smart move for Kyren Paris, who started off so hot and then just really struggled, had a run where he struck out half the time in his at-bats. And so he needs to settle down, figure some things out. I don't think it's even the defensive part that is even messing with him. He looks comfortable in center. Yeah. It's really just his at-bats and getting the bat on the ball.
Yeah, and when you're the Kyren Paris 2.0 that you came into the season being, he certainly earned his spot out of spring training, right? Yeah. And then you realize, oh, you know what? He's struggling. And so you give him a chance to have everyday reps. I think that's important. I think Joe Adell still has, a little bit more to offer in terms of having been up with the club, at least over the last year and this year. And, there are moments of production, right? The 423 slugging, that's a good slugging percentage. A 4 home run month so far. That's a good month for home runs. 2 for 3 with a walk last night. So he seems to be taking better at bats than you might get out of somebody like Kyren Paris, especially in a key moment. Man, he was screwed by that umpire. And that umpire, I can't wait to see the scorecard today. That changeup down below the zone, they called it a strike that just changed the entire at bat. You thought Adell could do something with that. We'll get to that later on. Finally, Mike, Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register wrote that Robert Stevenson was in the locker room last night, and he answered cryptically when asked if he was going to be activated. He said, that's something you're probably going to have to ask the front office. Stevenson did pitch on Friday and Sunday with Salt Lake. It makes sense not to activate him Monday due to the fact that he threw in those 2 games. He gave up 2 runs in 5 innings with Salt Lake and Class A Inland Empire, struck out 5, didn't walk anybody. You like to hear that. Yeah. Stevenson said, I can't give you a date on anything, but I feel like I'm really close. Body's been feeling really good. It's been responding well to throwing, so I'm excited. Ron Washington said, or he didn't specifically say when Stevenson would come back or how they use him, but he did say that he'd be a tremendous boost to the bullpen, especially the way he's been throwing the ball. We're taking it day by day. Mike, where do you see Stevenson in this bullpen, and who's the one that goes when the time comes?
I think Connor Brogdon will probably go, and I think that it'll probably be a flexible bullpen with Stevenson in there. I think that we might see him early to start, and then maybe as he gets some reps, we'll probably see him later in the game, depending on what Ryan Zefferjohn's availability is. I think that there'll be some mixing and matching there, but he'll probably be a 6th inning, 7th inning guy to start just to get him accustomed to Angel Stadium and accustomed to the big leagues again. But he's been throwing really hard in the minor leagues and has really hit 97, 98 on the radar gun. And so it seems like he's healthy and free swinging. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with this team once he does get activated. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see that before tonight's game.
I'm crossing my fingers that Brogdon becomes somebody who makes it through waivers and ends up back with the Angels in AAA somehow. I'd have to look at his contract, but that would mean he would have to either accept an assignment if he's got enough play time in the big. So that's a question there, because he's been great at his role. I don't think that it's been an issue whatsoever. So hopefully Brogdon can stay within the organization, be another arm to call upon. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, what did Perry Minasian say about the Angels' 8-game winning streak and what it means for the future of the Angels? We're going to get into that in our last segment. But coming up next, we're going to recap the game against the Yankees, and we'll get into all of that coming right up.
Hey, it's time to get the supplies you need from the site that's made for skilled trades. It's supplyhouse.com. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, supplyhouse.com is the most reliable way to order products online. They have an easy-to-use website packed with all sorts of helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, they have a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts and from over 400 top brands. You're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need some help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you're always going to talk to a real person. And if you're a trade pro looking for maybe an edge in your work, they have a free Trade Master program that offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage of this, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program at supplyhouse.com/TM, and you can start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And when you check out, use our promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. A frustrating loss against the Yankees in this series opener. Talk about rolling over and dying and killing any momentum you've had, because the last 3 games have just been terrible. 19 hits, but only 3 runs. Now, I was going to take solace in the fact that Marlins went down to San Diego and looked like they were going to take that game, but then the Padres came back and won it in extra innings last night. So can't have any reprieve here, Mike. But not only is it frustrating to lose a game like this, but then, and this has been longer than the Angels have been losing. This has always been the case. It's Yankee Stadium West. All these Orange County Yankee fans with their, Bellinger jerseys and their fresh new Yankee hats in the stadium. Give me a break, right? So you've never even been to New York City. Get out of town.
And every fly ball is a home run, according to the cheers from the Yankee fans in that place.
Oh,
that's the most annoying thing. It's like, dude, you can tell baseball fans versus just fair weather fans based upon a fly ball, because you watch. Here's what you do every day, or you know this. I don't need to tell you, but I'm just going to tell you anyway. You watch the outfielder. It can tell you exactly where the ball is going to go, if it's going to be off the wall or if it's going to be a home run. And apparently all the Yankee fans at Angel Stadium last night weren't watching the outfield, because every fly ball, even in the infield, was oh my gosh.
I'm clipping that and putting that one on social media. That's
Do it.
For sure. All right. Bottom of the first, Zach Neto, his 4th leadoff home run in the month of May. That tied an Angels record for leadoff home runs in a month, but set by Taylor Ward in September of last year. His furthest home run of his career, 440 feet to dead center field. And it felt like a good omen to get going with Zach Neto. And you thought, hey, you know what? Jack Kohanowitz, he's going to cruise because he's got a lead. And he did cruise for the first 3 innings. We'll get into that. But that was all the runs the Angels were able to put up. Chris Taylor fit right in this one, Mike. 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Taylor Ward, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Hoppy, tell me if you've heard this before. 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Nolan Shawnuel, 0 for 4. Yohan Moncada, 0 for 4. Soler had a strikeout. A total of 11 strikeouts across this one, which is stupid because it feels like, only 11? Because that's the way it's been from the last few weeks. Only 11 strikeouts. That's an improvement from 15, 16. But they only had 2 walks and just 5 hits. Now, I'm not going to blame umpires, because every team gets bad calls from bad umpires. But I was going nuts about that sweeper on the left side away from right-handed hitters getting called to strike every single time. Like I said, I can't wait to see the umpire scorecard for this one. Not an excuse, but as a fan, it's okay to be frustrated when umpires just aren't good at their jobs.
Right. Now, Kohanowitz, he did cruise through the first 3 innings, John. He faced the minimum amount of batters. And then the top of the 4th, he allowed 3 consecutive singles to load the bases. He walks Cody Bellinger, the bases loaded, 4 consecutive pitches out of the zone, 3 sinkers, and a 4-seam fastball. And then he strikes out Dominguez, but then Volpe hits a bases-clearing double. John, it was an 0-2 pitch.
Yeah.
And he had him guessing the first 2 pitches, and then he throws him a fastball trying to get to the top of the zone, and I don't think he's calling his pitches. I think it is Hoppy calling his pitches, and that's just a terrible call. Like that's just not good. Now, if he didn't have a feel for the changeup, then maybe you go with something else. But you've had him chasing on 2 really good pitches down in the zone. Like, let's see if he does 3 in a row. And it felt like a terrible call. And because if you miss, this is what happens.
Yeah.
Fastball upstairs, got a lot of the plate. And then immediately Angels are trailing 3 down by 3 in this inning. And then you mentioned Chris Taylor just got turned around in center field and wasn't really getting a good run or a good route to that ball. Then Kohanowitz, he more than doubled his pitch count in this inning compared to what he threw the first 3 innings. So he really struggled in this inning, but before and after, he was really, really good.
Yeah. All it takes is that one bad inning, and that's what he had in the 4th there. And what's frustrating, Mike, is I hear you on the fastball up. And the truth is like, I'm a fan of when you can get a guy to look down like he did to Volpe and then get him to look up and try to swing at that fastball. But that fastball shouldn't be a strike. It should be at the shoulders of the hitter. And
Yeah.
it wasn't even close to that. It was, dead to rights, right down the middle, basically, to Anthony Volpe. So it's like, if you're not going to hit a spot you're supposed to hit above the zone, like, look, I'm not an athlete. I don't claim to be one, but man, like, you can't throw a ball above the strike zone in this one. Like, that was super frustrating. And, often they call it a waste pitch, right? Where you throw one way outside and you're just trying to, make the count interesting. And in this one, to throw a pitch above the strike zone, that couldn't be done. Super frustrating.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, but we talked about this yesterday with the Marlins pitching against the Angels and Cabrera on the mound on Sunday. Like, he just kept, and the rest of the starting rotation and the bullpen guys, when they came in, they just kept throwing the sweeper way off out of the zone because the Angels kept chasing it. And so with Volpe, he looked terrible in the first 2 pitches. So at least throw one more, right?
Do it until it stops working.
Yeah, and then I think then you can adjust and then go to. I'm not against the fastball high in the zone. I'm not against the fastball call there. I just think like it's baseball IQ. Like, hey, give me one more of those before you try anything new, because you got this guy chasing wildly. You got this guy swinging wildly. So why not give him one more just to see what happens? You know what I mean?
Just to try it. Yeah. The first 3 innings for Kohanowitz, no hits, no runs, 1 walk. Kohanowitz in the 4th, 4 hits, 4 runs. And then the next 2 2/3, 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk.
Yeah.
So it was frustrating because the Yankees were 4 for 7 in that 4th inning, 1 for 18 in every other inning.
Unreal.
Against Jack Kohanowitz. He ends up going 6 2/3, 5 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, and 5 Ks. It stands out because the Angels haven't had any offense going for their 3rd straight games. When they slump, they really slump. They know how to, like you said, it's feast or famine with this team.
Yeah.
And even the at-bats that seem to be better than others just didn't result in anything great. And so, again, it just looks like Taylor Ward has gone back to what he's been doing. I think sometimes with Zach Neto, he feels like he's got to carry the team and ends up trying a little too hard, right? And, there was a pitch he struck out on that was definitely like a fooled pitch, right? It was a pitch that'll fool you up at the plate.
Yeah.
But, when you lead off with the home run, they spoke about this about a week ago. And I believe it was Ron Washington or somebody in the coaching staff basically saying, you look at what happened before you. You look at what the guys have done before you. You think about the guys that are coming up after you. Mike, that's what we have been calling reading the room.
Mm-hmm.
And so to go back to that sort of thing, it feels like these guys aren't necessarily reading the room. But that's also hard to do when you don't have anybody taking a walk or getting on base or anything like that, right?
Right. And they just don't seem like they can stand out, right? And what I mean by that is, if everybody's hitting, great. But if everybody's not hitting, there isn't somebody that's like, hey, I'm gonna be the guy that has like a long bat. I'm gonna be the guy that helps the guy behind me to see some pitches. Now, they did that in the first inning. They had Yarborough throwing a lot of pitches in the first inning.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't capitalize on it, and then it didn't do anything for the rest of the game as well. So it just seems like once the leadoff guy does his thing, they're like, okay, we're all gonna do that. And that even during the winning streak. The winning streak, they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna smack the ball around, we're gonna hit the first pitch, we're gonna do all of that stuff. John, I saw with the Yanks last night, they knew attacking Kohanowitz early was going to be something that was going to be their strategy. Didn't work,
and
right?
It didn't work, right, for 3 innings, yeah.
Then the 4th inning, they adjusted, and the whole lineup adjusted.
Yeah,
they took pitches, they didn't swing at anything low, they did exactly what they should be doing, and they scored 4 runs in that inning and were able to take the lead and end up winning the game because of that. So just a frustrating overall offensive performance. And one quick note, the Angels' defensive shading sucks. They need to stop doing that. I counted 5 hits last night that would have been easily scooped up on the ground and thrown to first base or whatever bag they need to get it out on if they just played it straight up. So that defensive shading nonsense is nonsense. Like play it straight up, because Bellinger got a couple of hits last night that should not have been hits if the second baseman or the shortstop are where they need to be.
Yeah. I love when you say one quick note, because it's always followed by this crap that the Angels did. It always makes me laugh. But it just goes to show, Mike, the first time through the order, everybody had a plan.
Yeah.
And then the plan for the Yankees didn't work, right? And Kwanowitz ends up facing the minimum. They swung at the first pitch or the second pitch, and everybody grounded out or struck out, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, second time through the order, so they had a conversation. All right, guys, here's what he did in the first 3. Here's what we're going to do in the next 3. And that's something that you don't see happen with the Angels.
Yeah. Now, wanted to quickly say, Ohapi did leave the game last night, but we got a couple of updates that he got hit in the head on a backswing in the 8th inning, so they removed him for precautionary reasons. Says he feels okay. They're going to wait and see where he's at for today's game. That means that he probably won't be in today's game, which is typically an Angels move, right? DH him then. Just have him DH and have Darno hit, but stop taking this guy out of the lineup. And one more thing, John. This is why Neto and Ohapi should have been in the game to start on Sunday. Like, that's why you don't throw that game away.
Right.
That's why you don't give that game up. Win the series because you're playing the Yankees. It's why you don't do that. For crying out loud, like, let me manage this team.
Yeah, no kidding. It's you throw the game away because we got a tough series in the Yankees coming up. Yeah, but now you're going to lose 2 out of 3 to them too. Right. So it's just like, it's so frustrating, the logic behind some of these decisions.
Johnny, it was Perry Minasian. He's the culprit that made the Angels lose the game win streak.
You know who it was? Erica. She left for the weekend, and now it was her fault that we lost.
That's funny. Well, Rhett Bollinger interviewed Perry Minasian about the 8-game winning streak and just wanted to get his thoughts. First thing that Perry mentioned was that the young players have really produced. He said that they've been really productive even before the streak, but during the streak, they were playing better and executing when they needed to. He said it's a game of execution, and the more experience that these guys get, especially close and late games, the more chances they have to do some real positive things.
I hate that language. It's a game of execution.
I do too.
What did they execute? Did they take better at bats? Did they have longer at bats? Did they go the other way? What did you see, Perry? Because just like all these vagaries that he always gives us when it comes to, I don't even know if it's a real word. And
it's a good word.
And so it's just like, it's GM speak,
Yeah.
But talking about the team, right? Oh, you know, this offseason, we want to be competitive. We're going to make all the best moves that we can. We want to put our team in a position. Then what are you going to do?
Right.
Who are you going to sign?
We're flying at 50,000 feet. That's, you know, that's we're going to be at 50,000 feet, 100 miles an hour. That's what we're doing, right? Like,
here's what he had to say next about the veterans on this team. He said, during the winning streak, we've seen some production, but it's the entire team, not just the young guys. Seeing some of the veterans step up and do what they're doing, when you've combined that with some of our young guys and what they're doing, that kind of starts, and the kind of starts we've been getting for the most part, it's been fun to watch. And two players that he highlighted are Taylor Ward and Yohan Moncada. He said mixing in those vets with the young core like Neto, Ohapi, and Shawnuel has the potential to create something special. He said 3 very talented players, 3 players that from a DNA standpoint, that's what you want. Guys that wake up thinking about baseball, guys that go to bed thinking about it. They're baseball players and they want to win. So seeing them step up in those moments, those winning moments, and doing things to help us win is something that for me is not surprising.
I'm going to send my resume into Perry because I wake up and go to sleep thinking about baseball. So I fit the DNA.
Yeah, I must be a good baseball player.
I must be a great baseball player. Now, he finished by giving credit to the coaches, and I have a question for you, and I think I know the answer. He said
one more note. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. He gave credit. He said, you know, we started off well and then we hit a little lull. Now they're playing well. And I mean, that's baseball, according to Perry Minasian. He said this group works really hard. And the experience of the coaching staff really helps these players. There's respect from the players to the coaches and vice versa. That's really important. The work they've put in, it started last year and it's now starting to pay dividends. And he added like veterans Soler and Darno and Ward have all credited the hitting coaches with the recent turnaround. So my question to you, Johnny, is Perry keeps talking about execution. And we've discussed the coaching strategy during the losing streak and that there's a lot of blame that needs to be placed on these coaches. We even said like, hey, time to move Johnny off the seat, right? And maybe even potentially Ron Washington. So, Johnny, is Perry right? And are we wrong?
Give me a larger sample size, Mike, because the sample sizes that we had were 2 weeks of great baseball, a month of terrible baseball, and then 2 more weeks of great baseball. And now here we are.
Feels like we're back, right?
3 games back to bad. And and it's not even like, you know, dang, that was an unlucky hit. Like that was, there was some stuff like that over the Marlins series where it was like, oh, that ball's just out of reach of Neto. Well, that's defensive shading, right? And then somebody, I can't remember, maybe it was Joe Adell, hit a rocket. And the Marlins center fielder makes this great diving play, right? So it's, dang it, that stinks. That's unlucky. It's not that. You watch these games, and I know our everydayers watch as intently as we do. And if you're not, I encourage you to watch the kind of at-bats that they're having, because it really looks like over the last 3 games, everybody's kind of back to doing what they were doing before. Jorge Soler had this would-be hit in the 9th inning, and Wayne Randazzo says, man, he just kind of threw his bat at it, but it hung up long enough to be caught, and you thought it might drop in for a hit in left field. Mike, that's a hit that over the good win streak that he would have hit the other way, right? And even if you do throw your bat at it, you kind of lean your body back a little bit more and swing the bat head out at it, and it goes to right field and it drops in, right? So it's stuff like that where it's like, oh, Soler's still trying to pull the ball. Ward is still swinging at stuff he shouldn't be swinging at. And so they're reverting back to who they were. And so again, I say, let's pump the brakes on the coaching conversation just because things were good for 2 weeks. Well, we also have a sample size of a whole bad month. So really at this point, we've got 2 weeks of good baseball, a bad month, and 2 weeks of good baseball. And now we have 3 games of bad approaches at the plate. So I say, are we going back to the month of bad baseball? Are we going back to 2 weeks of bad baseball? Is it going to turn around tonight? Are we going to have a conversation? I think we need to wait and see with his coaching staff because we don't have a large enough sample. This team has been 50-50 and their record shows it. And they've been a little bit worse than 50-50 because now they're under 500 once again, even though they fought so hard to get back to 500. So it really comes down to, who are you? What are you going to do? What are the adjustments that you're going to make at the plate? Because at the end of the day, what we've seen in these last 3 games looks like who was the bad one? Jekyll, Hyde. Hyde was the bad one. Dr. Jekyll was the good guy, and Hyde was the bad one. They look like real Jekyll and Hyde right now.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. You can find the show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and connect with Mike and I at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show, get in the comment section. We would love to converse with you there as well. Mike, what do we have on deck for Wednesday's show?
Hey, where does Trout fit in this lineup, and will he make a difference is really, I think, the biggest question that everydayers are wrestling with. And so we're going to wrestle with that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday.
One more thing.
One more note I have real fast.
I'm ticked.